Welcome back to the manor. Julian McBain here. Tonight we're hunting merfolkin. Because I needed a change of pace for a change. Still doing low level stuff, trying to conserve some of my ped. Which is something I don't do enough of is, you know, high efficiency hunting. Boy, these guys hit like a truck. Oh, you know why? Because I think these are classified as ranged attacks. Or is it cold? It doesn't really matter. Before we get too much into it, if you're new to the channel, welcome to the manor. Please take a moment and subscribe down below. We are on the road to 13 million subscribers, one subscription at a time, so make sure you subscribe. Also, please consider going to patreon.com/JulianMcBain if you want to support my work. If you do, you'll get copies of The Modern Entropian and Personal Finance for Gamers. For being a member, I really appreciate the support. So yeah, I've been thinking about the Entropia market and how to build relationships so that you can actually form this supply chain, right? This business chain. You can form these player cooperatives or corporations. And I understand that it's not easy, especially since the platform isn't really designed to operate necessarily in that way. But there are ways for you to work it, right? You can build alliances with players. Like, I'm currently in negotiations with a player to where they will buy all my loot, and we have an agreed upon markup so that I know I've got a guaranteed buyer, and he knows he's got a guaranteed supplier. And I think that's a good thing. And there's some details to work out, you know, places that we trade, if there's any limitations, exclusivity or not, which I don't, you know, that's something you have to work out with whoever you talk to. It depends on how formal it is. But these are all things that players can actually work together. You can have a single trader who resells stuff that has 5 or 10 suppliers that they put together the team, and then the suppliers are hunters or miners or what have you, and then you help each other out. It's an alliance, it's an agreement, and then the hunters could even gather together to hunt bigger mobs that give out bigger loots. You know, go after the bigger challenges and go for those globals, which would increase this, you know, the ability for them to harvest supply. Now, these are all things that I think are underutilized on the platform. I really do. I did not realize these guys hit so hard. But that's okay. But they're all things we as players can come up with, right? So when you're determining what direction you want to go, what it is you want to do, also think about building relationships. See, one of the things that I've learned about being a YouTuber is that it's not like old-fashioned entertainment, right? In the old days, you produced content, it was all curated, it was just out there, and you didn't care what people thought. If you got the ratings, great, and if you didn't get the ratings, you failed. Well, platforms like YouTube are much different. It's really about building a community. And you have to be engaged, you have to work with the people you've got, you know, determine the niche that you want to fill. I've been very fortunate. I have a small channel, but I've got a good community. You know, I've got the community that comes to my live streams, which is, you know, more often than not a one-player game. I actually enjoy that. But I do go through periods between games where I'm playing Entropia Universe, and then the Entropia peeps jump in, and we have a lot of fun. And you do build a community. And so when you're playing Entropia, if you really want to be successful, I think what you have to do is really work on building those connections, building that network, right? And this is as true in actual business as it is in this game. Because think about it. Any business done in this game is actual business, right? You're trading in real money. There are profits to be had. But to do that, you have to build a network. And there are different ways to build that network, and some are going to be more successful than others, obviously. But it's really about building the network and making sure that you have the connections that you need to be successful. And the only way you're going to do that is by engaging with people. Now, this is something that I know I'm kind of terrible at on the outset. I'm actually, in my mundane life, I'm actually a member of an organization called BNI, Business Networkers International, that my boss has sent me to practice networking. Now, for that, you're looking for business referrals and stuff like that, and you're trying to kick each other business. It's a mutual aid organization, basically. We are going to pop on the Tyrellian armor here. No, not Vigilante, Tyrellian. But in a lot of ways, that would work here too. Because what you're doing is you're going, okay, I'm a miner. I do the mining thing. My buddy over there's a hunter. They do the hunting thing. I got the ores. They've got the oils. And now we need to find a crafter that we can work with, or a trader that we can supply. And that trader is going to have crafters that he works with. And the crafter will sell you the guns they make off of the supplies the trader gives. Now, part of making that relationship work is having enough mutual respect to where the suppliers don't cut the middleman out, so to speak. And in a lot of cases, it'll be disadvantageous for them to do so, because what they could do is they could broker trades where, they sell their supplies to the trader, and then the trader brings them the guns they want to buy. Don't know if that would really work at the outset, and the auction house has a lot of that kind of tightened up. But on the same token, that would work too, where you have this network, and the trader would be the hub, the crux of this, where you could actually pay the trader almost a finder's fee to make up for any lost profits. And they put you in touch with the people they network with an understanding that you sell your goods to the trader, you aggregate your goods to the trader, and the crafter buys off the trader, who spends the time to aggregate those goods and takes the risk of transporting them off planet. Because there is a cycle. And maybe that wouldn't work. It would take a lot of... That would take a lot of honesty between everybody, and an understanding that, yes, I know that I could get a better price for my goods by going directly to the source, but I want to keep this person who helped facilitate all of this in the business that we are doing together. Because the most network savvy people on this platform are going to be your traders, because that's how they make their money. They're the salespeople. They sell the offer of purchasing the goods off suppliers like me, the people who farm the goods off the mobs. And then they nurture the relationships with the crafters so that they can always flip those goods, often aggregated in large stacks, so the crafters can make their things, their finished products. And so there's an incentive to keep those traders in the loop. Because more often than not, I'm going to run out of PED before I have a stack big enough where the crafters can honestly use it. Like, you go on the auction house, most people buy things in like 50 PED lots or what have you. But some of these big crafters, they're buying hundreds of PED in supplies every time they go to the auction house. Hundreds. And then they'll factory out, our matrix, LR10s and LB10s and LR25s and LR30. They'll just stamp them right out, right? Just click after click after click, and they'll produce all these weapons, and they're using up all the residue that the ammo crafters, the people who just spend their whole day doing nothing but friggin' explosive ammunition or explosive projectiles. You got those people who they set this up for basically an 8-hour run of explosive projectiles and then fuck off for their day job. They come home and they're like, okay, now we're going to dump their explosive projectiles either on the auction house or in the TT, and they sell the metal residue for a profit to the crafters. Rinse, repeat, because that's how you build your crafting abilities, right? And but the crafters are buying all these materials to make the things like the guns and the armor and the clothing for what little there is. And they need these supplies. And so you get the tradespeople, your resellers, they buy the smaller stacks and give you smaller profit than you make on the auction house, but you're trading that profit for zero risk, right? That's the reason that they can pay less. When you put something on the auction house, you're paying a fee to MindArc and saying, I hope this sells within the time period that I've offered it so that I can get this profit. And if I don't sell it, I lose my fee. You're trading that for, I know for a fact that I can sell these goods to that trader. And although I'm going to make less off the trade, I will not get stuck with this. See how that works? So you nurture that relationship. And there are good traders and resellers, and there are bad traders and resellers. And you just have to know, you have to be willing to vet the people you work with. Some of them are going to be very, very fair with you, and others are going to try and, they're going to try to hardball you. You know? They're going to shark you. And it might be that when they first meet you, they try to shark you, and when you build a relationship with you, they're a lot more fair. I don't really get behind that. I kind of would prefer someone who's going to be straight up with me from the get-go. But it doesn't always work like that. It doesn't always work like that. That's life. And so okay, so let's say you're a hunter like me and you nurture relationships with people. You spend time in rookie chat, you build those connections, you PM some folks, you build a friends list. You know, you find out who on the list are the people who do trading and reselling and say, hey, global 12 ped, nice. They haven't gotten a good global in a while. I mean, okay, that's a good global for this level. There, let's rephrase that. That's a good global for this level. So, oh crap! Of course, the global is going to end up making me forget my train of thought. Okay, so you build the connections. So now you've got your network. You got the people that you work with all the time. So now your ped card is reasonably flush. I mean, is this game going to make you rich? Probably not. Can it? Technically, yes. Will it? Probably not. It's just like real life. It follows the Pareto principle, okay? A very small percentage of the people are going to have the majority of the wealth. And a very large percentage of the people are going to have a minority of the wealth. And as much as people hate to hear this, that is actually a natural law. And it's a natural law that was laid out by an Italian economist named Pareto. And I don't remember his first name. And this man is, when I finally figured out his principle, it finally made sense. Like the way the world worked made a whole lot more sense. Because this is true in more than, I know people who have been a long time here are like, oh great, Julian's hammering on about the Pareto principle again. Here we go. But it's, for those of you who are newer to my channel, it works kind of like this. Every step you take makes the next step a little bit easier. Because you've got the experience and you've got the resources behind you that you gathered from the last step. And as long as you don't take a misstep too hard, you're going to continue swinging. And it's just like a pendulum. The more momentum you get, the faster you're going to go. Okay? And you swing up this Pareto line that's shaped, if you follow my cursor, you see my cursor here? It'll be shaped like this. Right? Just like my cursor's moving. Like that. And you can look up the Pareto principle on Wikipedia. It'll bring you through the whole thing. But by building this network, you're helping each other out. And you as a group, as an organization, insofar as you are an organization, whether you're a loose organization like BNI, or you become a tight organization like big industries, when you're working together for a common goal, and each of you has a part to play, and you get paid for your share in the supply chain, and there's demand for the products that you're selling, which in this game there always will be, you're all going to win. Because that's the way it works. You know, individualism, I didn't want to go quite this far with it, but when you solo play, right? It's an individualist theory. When you solo play, you do everything on your own, you work really hard, you try to do everything alone. Can that work? Yes. But it's also the absolute hardest way to do things. So what you do is you build that network, and you all have an agreed upon, each role that you play is agreed upon, right? It's like, okay, I sell to Joe, and Joe buys my goods, and I get an agreed upon markup, right? And then Joe turns around after buying from me and buying from Pat and buying from Rich and buying from James and buying from Bonnie and buying from Amber and buying from Kat, and piles all of these goods together, taking on the risk of not being able to sell them. See, he got the benefit of not having to pay as much for them by taking on the risk of not being able to sell them. I take the risk of losing my ass when I fight a mob, because if I fight a mob and I end up screwing up my markup, not my markup, but my eco, by dying a lot or fighting a mob that just does a huge amount of damage and decays my armor, all this shit, that's my risk as a hunter. That is the risk I have accepted. I don't like the risk of not being able to sell the goods I get off the mobs, because then I lose money when I dump it into the TT. That's just a fact. But I have now transferred that risk to the person who wants to buy off me as a reseller. In exchange for that, I accept a lower payout on the goods that I sell them. It's higher than the TT, but lower than I could make on the auction house, for the guarantee that I will sell those products. Now, that risk is on the reseller. The reseller accepts in payment for that risk higher markup, which would be the standard markup that he sells them for to the crafter. The crafter now takes on the risk of whatever they're crafting not selling, which is why there's a huge amount of guns on the marketplace and not a whole hell of a lot of much else. Because weapons decay quickly, and people have to replace them all the time. So the crafter takes on that risk. But that risk is lower, especially when you're a weapons manufacturer in this game, kind of like in real life right now, that you're not going to sell those products because it's a needed good. In this game, weapons are a necessary good because you can't hunt without those weapons, and those weapons decay relatively quickly. You can kill most guns off in a couple hours of hunting. You've watched me do it doing mayhem. You spend 4 hours doing mayhem, you're going through 2 swords. That's just a fact. I'll burn through a sword with an amp, and I'll have to repair it every 2 hours or replace the sword and repair the amp. Well, I think I can actually make it 3 hours per sword, but I'm having to repair the amp once an hour. You're just burning through weapons. So that crafter knows if they make weapons, they're going to make their money. But there are other things people want. People want cars, and people want quad wings, and people want Sleipnirs, and people want clothing and jackets and armor and all of the other bells and whistles that this game has, the finders for the miners. So they have to look at the market and figure out what is selling. That's the risk they take, is misreading the market on what they're making. So really, the people with the biggest risk of all are the crafters. Because of that increased risk, the markup on the things that they sell is significantly higher than what I as a hunter can get for my goods when selling to the reseller or trader, and higher than the trader can get off, or the reseller can get from the crafter when giving them the raw materials. Because the crafter takes on the greatest risk. That reseller knows, because a reseller that's smart has a network of crafters that they sell to. I guarantee it. Your smart traders have a list of people, and they say, hey, I just picked up a stack of this. This is the type of thing you craft. And they go off and they sell it for an agreed upon price. And that's the way it works. Those are business contracts. It might not be formal. It may not be legal. It may not be official. But that's how it works. This is the way it works in real life, too. And so they work that out. The trader gets his profit. The crafter gets their supplies. But now the crafter's sitting on all these supplies. They craft the things, and they got to hope to God that they sell. So they put them on the auction house for a higher markup, 23 to 25% oftentimes. That's a pretty good markup. That's a pretty good markup for anything. And they take on the risk. And don't forget, when you're crafting, especially low level, you can burn supplies and not get anything out of it. Right? If you've got 10 clicks on a blueprint and you're going for quality, depending on your skills, you can burn through 4 or 5 clicks before you produce a gun. You know, this is why if you don't craft at all, if you've never crafted, pick yourself up an explosive projectiles blueprint, right? Buy 20 ped worth of nanocubes and set yourself to crafting. And you'll really understand the risks crafters take. This is why things have such high markup. Why finished goods have such high markup compared to the supplies. Because crafters will burn through hundreds of ped of supplies with no benefit. Does this mean it's hundreds all at once? No. It's spread out over successful clicks. So they might have 10 successful clicks, but they had 50 tries. See how that works? And of course, when they get higher level, it'll get narrower and narrower, but they're still going to have unsuccessful clicks. And they're going to have near successes, and there's going to be that whole flip-flop, but that produces the metal residue that they then use to make it so that the other, so that the guns that come out at lower quality, the things that come out at lower quality can have an improved quality. All of these things matter. It's up to you as the player to determine what risk you want to take on. If you want to play solo, like you don't want to deal with anybody, you don't trust anyone, you don't want to deal with anyone, that's your prerogative. And you can absolutely do it that way. God only knows I've done it for most of my time here, and I've done it in other games. However, when you have those relationships with people built up, you're all going to be more successful because you're all working your part in the supply chain. You're all making your profit to do the things that you enjoy doing. And just like in real life, this is how supply chains work. That's the long and the short of it. So I hope that as you all continue your journey through the Entropia universe and determine what you want to do, what part you wish to play in this universe, whether it's being the hunter like me, who actually spends as much time farming low-level mobs as he does going to challenge the big hardies to build up skills, or a reseller like Bob Silent or Jax, or a crafter like Lore Spade, who has flipped from, well, I don't know how much he plays anymore, really. I do know he does crafting. I visited his shop to see if he's got any swords up. I gotta go check it again. It's been a hot minute. Speaking of which, go check out his store at the Medusa Mall. I believe it's the first shop on floor 2. I believe. Someone fact check me on. Lore Spade, you fact check me on that. But I believe it's the shop number 1 on floor 2. And he's he's producing stuff. And he's still fairly early on his crafting journey, relatively speaking. He's still a bigger hunter than I am. I haven't caught up to him skills-wise in that respect. Catching up to you, Lore Spade, though. Catching up to you. So, go check these people out. And then if you want to see what a real player corporation really looks like, or player organization looks like, check out Big Industries on Calypso. And then check out the Titans of Space. I don't know how they make their money or if they're even in it for a profit. I think they might just be in it. I'm pretty sure they're mostly in it for the fun, but they run a fucking mothership. Okay? They got to be doing something right. So go check out the Titans of Space. You can catch Bonnie on her stream. I believe she streams Thursday, Fridays, and Sundays on Twitch. So if you're ever wondering the direction you can go, those are all good directions to look at. In the meantime, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Please like, share, and subscribe down below. We're on the road to 13 million subscribers, one subscription at a time, so make sure you subscribe. And as always, everyone, I really appreciate the support. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. We'll see you in the next one.